Frank Bruno versus Anthony Joshua, that is a great fight.
And I think Anthony Joshua, up until recent times, thinks he could beat everybody. So would you have demolished Josh more in terms
of... absolutely, yeah. No
dramas. Josh.
Absolutely.
So the next time we speak to Josh, we can tell him that, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And Cole Frampton, let him know and all.
Welcome to Talk Boxing, the Q&A with Spencer Oliver and Simon Jordan. Don't forget to keep liking and subscribing. And of course, leaving the brilliant questions in the comment section below. But let's get on with the aforementioned questions. Spencer, first one up is a question from Will Hopley. What are the most controversial and worst decisions you've seen in boxing? I know what mine are.
I tell you one that was very controversial going back to 1999. Lennox Lewis, Evander Holyfield won.
Slippery scrote. I was going to go with that one.
Yeah, no, great minds and all that. Lennox Lewis, Evander... What's that?
No benefit of association there.
Anyway, let me finish. Yeah, Lennox Lewis, Evander Holyfield
I agree.
won. The first fight, actually, it was a controversial draw.
It was a shocker.
No, but that was a closer fight than the second one that Lennox Lewis won.
But Lennox Lewis lost the second fight, in my view.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. It was a
first
close.
Fight,
it was
first fight. He absolutely won.
Yeah.
And it was daylight robbery. The New York Post run headlines of absolute scandal.
Just trying to pick my shots.
Were you in any trouble in the middle there?
No, not really. I was trying to make him expel some of his energy, and he did.
And at the end, did you think you won it?
Boy, I don't know what the judges were looking for. Going through it one time, you never know what to expect the second.
So it took a long time coming, but for the first time this century, Britain has an undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. Many Americans disagreed with the judges. Holyfield himself seemed unconvinced. But all have had to concede now. Lewis is the champion. James Mates, ITN, Las Vegas.
I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with Lamont Peterson versus Amir Khan, because I thought that was a shocking decision, and there was a lot of alluded to corruption about scoring cards and people leaning over shoulders. We can, of course, follow up with the most recent one that we're all up in arms about.
Josh Taylor and Jack Castle.
Absolutely. Can you think of any more? I mean, there's so many that we can probably get into.
There's a lot of them. Like a lot of people, like if you want to go in super fights, you go back to 1985, April the 7th, and you go like Marvin Hagler and Sugar Ray Leonard. Yep. You know, there was a little controversy around that. Did Leonard win? It's like it's something. You know, did Hagler win? Did you go on aggression? Was it the boxing skills? So yeah, that would be another one. And I was a massive Hagler fan as well, and obviously,
absolutely,
yeah. I felt that he'd done enough to win that fight, but they give it to Leonard.
But I think those are the three that we're going to alight upon, aren't we?
Yeah.
Okay, next question is from Romeo. Romeo, wherever we're out though. Is Frank Bruno underrated? Would he be in the top 5 heavyweights in the current era? Top 5 heavyweights, so let's just list them for a second. Let's go with it. Let's go with
Fury,
Usyk, AJ, Joe Joyce. Who's 5th?
Wilder,
right. Okay, so that's the 5.
Yep.
So, Frank, in that, what say you? Is he underrated, first and foremost?
He's underrated, you know. And do you know what? When I look back on it, because I was looking at Frank's fights, actually, the other day. You look back on some of the fights that he had. He was actually underrated, Frank. Like a lot of people talked about him being very fragile around the old whiskers and all that. Yeah. But if you look at it, he was tough, you know. He took some shots. He always finished on his feet. The Lennox Lewis fight, the Mike Tyson fight, he finished on it. Yeah, but he was on his feet. He didn't get flattened. He didn't get iced. No, what I'm saying is he was better than given credit for. I think Frank Bruno would be up there with the top 5. I'm not saying that he would beat them all, but I think he would definitely be in the mix.
So let's look at that and say Tim Witherspoon did a number on him.
He did. He gassed. That was a problem with Frank.
James Bone Crusher Smith did a number on him.
But he was doing Witherspoon up until that point, but he gassed. James Bone Crusher Smith.
Yeah, but it's all part of the mix.
He was a good fighter, Bone Crusher.
We've always accepted that the build of Frank and the size of him and the nature of the composition of his physicality put him in a situation where he was like the gas, and they had to find a solution to that.
Yeah.
I can't see past. I was a Frank Bruno lover, you know, not just because of the silly stereotyping of him and Harry Carpenter, and not because I'm a great believer in the perennial loser that we all love a great loser, right? Because I thought he was a character. I thought he had great bravery. I thought he cut through some of the nonsense, and there wasn't any airs and any airs and graces with him. But I can't get past Frank. And I know that it was the real stuff that he got offended by with the Uncle Tom comments that Lennox Lewis made and all that stuff, and I thought that was unfair and grotesque. I can't get past the ring walk for the second Tyson fight.
Yeah.
Because I saw a man walking to the gallows.
Sure.
And
he froze. He was beaten before he got in there. I get that. I totally understand that. But listen, at that time, you know, it was Mike Tyson. He had that aura of invincibility around him, and like he was a bad man. And occasion just got to Frank.
Did he? I mean,
I'll give you one.
Tyson was in stir.
Yeah,
he'd come out. He didn't have an aura of invincibility because he'd already been beaten by Buster Douglas. Yeah, so people knew, and he was fighting. Who was he fighting when he came out? A few names.
Bruce Seldon.
Bruce Seldon, yeah, but Bruce Seldon pretty much himself in the ring, didn't he?
Himself, he did.
But the point is I was just disappointed for Frank because he'd climbed that mountain. Got the world title against Oliver McCall. The whole nation had this outpouring. He'd achieved it, and then say the luck of the draw, he gets Tyson next.
I'm going to give you a great fight. I'm going to give you a great fight, a fantasy fight. Tell me who wins and how. Anthony Joshua versus Frank Bruno.
I don't know.
That's a great fight.
I don't know.
And that's what I'm saying. You're talking about him mixing in the top 5.
I don't know.
Anthony Joshua's in the top 5.
Who hits harder?
I don't know. Like what I'm saying is they hit equally as hard, and Joshua can whack. Bruno could as well. And that's what I'm saying. When you look at that, and when you look back on some of those fights, right? When you go back to when Bruno boxed like Lennox Lewis, and look at the Mike Tyson fight. I'm using them as examples because they're the ones that got beaten. But you look at what happened before the knockouts. He took some shots in there, and he hung in there, and he actually had moments himself. And when you put him into the modern era now, because Frank was a big old lump, and you look at him and I go, Frank Bruno versus Anthony Joshua, that is a great fight.
I say Anthony Joshua. Do you know why I say Anthony Joshua?
Go on.
Because I think he believes in himself more than Frank Bruno did.
What, now?
Yeah, well...
No, Bruno before the Tyson fights.
Okay, but
there's an argument there.
Yeah, but don't you remember when Bruno fought Mike Tyson in America? Because I went to that fight.
Yeah.
And the famous Harry Carpenter goes, "Come on, Frank." But he stood back and admired his work because he couldn't believe he'd rocked Tyson. And at that moment, if he'd have followed up, Tyson would have been bang in trouble because he woke Tyson up, concentrated his mind, and he needed to jump on him.
Yeah.
And I think he's paused for a second because the inherent deep-seated belief wasn't there that he could beat Tyson. And I think Anthony Joshua, up until recent times, thinks he could beat everybody.
Yeah.
I do think he's changed his style, and after the Klitschko fight, tried to avoid getting himself into dark places. But notwithstanding, I think it's an intriguing analysis. But I don't think Frank gets inside that top 5 to answer the original question. And I don't think he was underrated either.
Yeah, see, I do. Okay. I do think he flies in there because I've used that Joshua as an example. And for me, I go, that's one of them fights you go, might have an opinion, but no one really knows that. That's a 50-50
it's one of those
fight.
I also think
him in my top 5.
think it was strange on the Frank that they had this documentary recently. I know that was useful for Frank. A documentary that indexed the career paths to both Tyson and Frank, and it wasn't quite like that, was it?
Nothing like
that. It was a bit like that, you know.
No.
Anyway, next question. This is from Liam Marley. Hopefully not the son of Jacob. If Simon and Spencer were creating a stable of up-and-comers in the sport, promote and develop, who would be the top 3? Let me go first.
You go first.
I'm not bound not to have a depth of knowledge that you'll have, and probably I'll just nick ones away from you. But I'm going to go with Adam Azim.
Do you want me to go now, or do you want to go?
No, I'm going to go again because I want to get out.
Oh, so you're giving me nowhere to go,
My pool is not as big as yours, right?
You're going to pick 3 of the best fighters and give me nowhere to go.
I'm going to pick 2.
Well, I'm going to agree with you anyway. Adam Azim's in my top 3
right.
for the obvious reasons.
And I'm going to pick Ben Whittaker.
And he's in my top 3 for the obvious reasons, just because I think that they are 2 potential superstars.
I do too.
Please don't go on about Ben Shalom and Sky and all that. It's nothing to do with that.
I think they're going to be stars.
They are superstars.
I think they're capable of marketing themselves and giving themselves a life in and out of the ring. I think both of them are stylists of the highest order.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to bring a lot of wows.
I agree.
And I think there's a lot of money to be made with them and for them.
I agree.
Now, who's the third choice?
This is where you run out of legs, isn't it? Because you had them 2 and that was obvious.
I want a heavyweight, but I don't know one.
I've got one. Moses and Tama.
Right.
Yeah, he's going to be the next big thing. 18 years of age. He's boxing, actually.
Who's got him, Frank?
Frank's got him. He's only 1-0. He won in 20 seconds in his debut.
Yeah.
unbelievable amateur. This kid is sparring with Anthony Joshua and sparring with all the Joyce and all the guys, and he's doing well. Trust me, he's doing well. I think this kid is
a banger.
He's more than that. He's got a little bit more than that. His boxing IQ, his ring craft, everything about him is good. I think that he could be our next superstar of boxing as well.
To be fair, Frank, I spoke to Frank the other day, and he was raving about him.
Oh, he can fight.
Yeah.
So there you go. So hopefully we'll look back on this and go, we picked out 3 superstars there, and it comes true. But them 3 fighters, I believe, will reach.
They're on their way. Certainly Adam Azim, aren't they? And Ben Whittaker. Ben Whittaker, obviously he's been injured and coming back now, and so we'll see a lot of him this year, I suspect.
With Tarmo's boxing on March the 25th as well.
Very good.
Frank's got a bill in Telford.
The last question is for you, and solely for you. Spence, did you ever see a world champion in your weight class and think, I would absolutely smash this guy to bits? Do you believe you were destined to be a world champion?
Of course I believe that. Why did you do that? I beat
because
people.
I'm clueless in this subject.
Went on to win world titles. So it's like, you know what I mean? So, I did. There was people that won world titles that were around for a little while. A guy,
tell us then, come on.
Salim Medjikoun, his name was. He won.
Do you think you smashed him?
Well, I'll give you a little story. So Martin Krestev, who I won the European title of, knocked Salim Medjikoun out in a round. That's short. Knocked Salim Medjikoun out cold in a round. I boxed Martin Krestev in the next fight, knocked him out in 4 rounds. And then Salim Medjikoun went on to win the WBA world title and kept it.
But you just said 5 minutes ago,
so
him beating him doesn't mean him's going to beat him.
No, but this was obvious.
Except when it suits your argument.
This was an obvious one. And another one, Kiko Martinez is another one that I would have smashed up as well. Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely.
He went on to win the one that Josh Warrington demolished.
Yeah, but he was.
So would you have demolished Josh Warrington?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. No dramas. Josh. Absolutely.
So the next time we speak to Josh, we can tell him that, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And Cole Frampton, let him know and all.
Yeah. And Kid Galahad, you'd have done him as well.
Kid Galahad would have been out cold. We wouldn't have made 6.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Okay. No. Good, Spence.
Yeah.
Good little trip down amnesia lane, yeah? That's it for this week's episode of Talk Boxing, the Q&A. Don't forget to keep liking and subscribing, as I keep reminding you. Keep leaving the questions in the comment section below. Me and my mate over there. See you next week.